I-55, Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Wednesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us on this Wednesday evening. 2 weeks before the first practice for the Jacksonville Jaguars in the 2025 training camp down at the Miller Electric Center. And tonight marks 1 month. Exactly 1 month until the Jaguars preseason opener, which will take place on Saturday, August the 9th. We got a terrific guest lineup tonight. Something a little different for you in the 9 o'clock hour. I'm going to catch up with Mal Washington. Malavia Washington, everybody knows about his foundation here in town. He was a finalist at Wimbledon in 1996. The guy made the quarterfinals of the Australian Open. I believe he made it to the round of 16 in both the U.S. Open and the French Open as well. Was a very accomplished tennis player. I want to talk to Mal Washington about kind of the resurgence of American men's tennis. Ben Shelton lost today in a very competitive match to Jannik Sinner, but Taylor Fritz advanced to the semifinals. If Shelton would have won today, it would have been the first time in 25 years that two Americans in the men's side were in the semifinals of Wimbledon, because Taylor Fritz is already there. Unfortunately, Ben Shelton did come up short, but he's still a quarterfinalist. You combine those two with Francis Tiafoe, Tommy Paul. There's something going on with American men's tennis, and I want to talk to a guy that knows all about that. Mal Washington joins me later on in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll do some football recruiting for the Florida Gators tonight. Tyler Harden of Swamp 247. Tyler joins us also in the 9 o'clock hour. We're never going to get too far away from the Jacksonville Jaguars. My buddy John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, is about, 35 minutes away or so. And we're going to kick off the guest lineup coming up here in about 15 minutes, take you out live to Houston as our AFC South preview continues with John McClain. John McClain has been a fixture on the Houston sports scene for years and years and years. Love talking ball with John, and we'll talk about C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans, clearly the favorites coming into 2025 in the AFC South. What about Christian Kirk? What about Cam Robinson? What about Ronald Darby? What about Azeez Al-Shire, right? There's a lot of things to talk about. When it comes to the Texans, we'll talk about it with John McClain. That comes up in about 15 minutes or so. So as you can tell, we're absolutely loaded on this Wednesday evening, and we are glad you're choosing to spend part of it with us. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
This isn't necessarily the big deal of the night. I'll get to that in a moment, but it's something that I thought I would at least share with you because I found it pretty interesting. So I do this number of the week brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. And I found this to be interesting. Denmark, did you get a chance to see that video that I did earlier on 1010XL social media?
I saw it and I scrolled right past it.
All right, well, thank you.
I knew you were going to talk about it.
I appreciate the support. We talk about the newness here with the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? The roster, obviously, a ton of new guys. I found it interesting. Now, all three of these, well, two of these guys, check that. Two of these guys have to play a full 17 games. If they play a full 17-game schedule, they will enter the top 25 of most games played in a Jacksonville Jaguar uniform. The third guy, if he plays a full 17 games, will enter the top 10 of most games ever played in a Jacksonville Jaguar uniform. Denmark, care to take a guess who those three guys are? Two of which, if they play all 17 this year, will enter the top 25 in games played by a Jaguar. The third guy, if he plays all 17, will enter the top 10 of games played in a Jaguar uniform.
I'm going to go Josh Hines Allen.
Okay.
Logan Cook.
Okay.
And the third guy, that's kind of tough. Nobody, I'm not on offense.
Think about this.
I'd probably go Dewey because he's got a long tenure.
Dewey's number 4 on the list. If he plays all 17, he's going to be just outside the top 25. Think about this. It's always good to come back home. Is that a clue for you?
Smoot.
DeJuan Smoot. How about that? If DeJuan Smoot makes the team and plays all 17 games, he'll be among the top 25 Jaguars ever that have played in this uniform. Joshua Hines Allen, if he plays all 17 games, he will be among the top 25 Jaguars ever to play football in the teal and black. And Logan Cook, if he plays all 17 games, he enters the top 10 of all-time games played in a Jaguar uniform. There is a lot of change on this roster, no question, but those 3 guys have been staples, and Dewey as well. Dewey's at 86 games played. He missed some time due to injury last year, obviously. If he plays all 17, he's just outside the top 25. So I would even lump Dewey in there. Dewey, Cook, Smoot, and Hines Allen are the fixtures here in Jacksonville. Despite all the change and all the newness of the roster, those 4 guys have played when it was Doug Marrone, when it was Urban Meyer, when it was Doug Peterson, and now when it's Liam Cohen. Another guy that's getting some longevity here, entering year number 5, head coach number 3, is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, drafted in 2021? Urban Meyer, right? Doug Peterson, and now Liam Cohen. Denmark, I'm going to list off some quarterbacks. I want you to tell me if you have any idea what these guys have in common. Tyler Shough and Cam Ward, to go with J.J. McCarthy, Drake May, Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Bryce Young, Brock Purdy, Bo Nix, and Trevor Lawrence.
I have no idea.
All of those guys that I just mentioned, it's about 10 guys, almost a third of the quarterbacks in the league, will all be 25 years old or younger week 1 of the NFL regular season. Trevor Lawrence is still a really young guy, all things considered. He's on the top 10, top 12 youngest quarterbacks in the league still, even though he's entering his 5th year as a starter. And that's both good and bad. Again, let me read off these names again. Trevor's still very young. But so is C.J. Stroud. So is Jaden Daniels. So is Brock Purdy. So is Bo Nix. Caleb Williams. You could argue any of those guys that I just rattled off, you might have ranked higher than Trevor Lawrence if you're doing a list of NFL quarterbacks, age regardless. Most of you would probably have C.J. Stroud, right, ranked above Trevor. I would say most of you would probably have Jaden Daniels, at least based on last year, ranked above Trevor. Brock Purdy, I would think you have to rank him above Trevor, at least right now. I don't think it's outlandish to say Bo Nix, coming into 2025, is thought more fondly of than Trevor Lawrence. Look, Trevor's still among the youngest quarterbacks in the league. He'll turn 26 in October, entering year number 5. There is still a ton of time for Trevor to make up for the lost years, make up for a majority of the first 4 years of his career, and become the quarterback, or at least close to the quarterback that we wanted him to become. Plenty of time left. Having said that, there are guys that are younger than him that you would probably put over him right now, like a C.J. Stroud, like a Jaden Daniels, potentially a Brock Purdy, a Bo Nix, even a Caleb Williams. We'll see what happens. time's not running out for Trevor, but we're getting to the point where it needs to start happening for Trevor. 26 in October. This is the year, man. The time is now. He's young still, yes, but he's not that young. And this will be year 5. He needs to start showing why the Jaguars drafted him number 1. Has it all been his fault here? No, it hasn't been. He was dealt a very bad hand in numerous departments. But the excuse making is about to get over with. New offense, offensive-minded coach, weapons on the offense. It's time. To me, it's time. Particularly in the AFC South, when you could argue that C.J. Stroud, who's younger than Trevor Lawrence, has passed Trevor Lawrence in the NFL quarterback hierarchy. Speaking of C.J. Stroud, our AFC South preview continues. Let's go out to Houston. John McClain has covered the Houston sports scene for a long time, dating back to the Oilers. Obviously, every minute the Texans have been there for the last 2.5 decades. He's one of my favorites to talk NFL football with, particularly about the Houston Texans, and he joins me next. Let's talk about C.J. Stroud. Let's talk about the former Jaguars on that roster. Christian Kirk, Cam Robinson, Ronald Darby. Let's talk about our old buddy, Azeez Al-Shire. Let's talk Houston Texans as our AFC South preview continues. John McClain joins me next right here on Hacker After Dark.
Now, another classic moment in Jags history.
The offensive line developing into a good one, and Tony Baselli, a star. He is imposing. Coleman, Wydell, Tilsky, Searcy, who was in the Super Bowl with the Steelers last year.
1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Right now, you may be running a little late, or feeling stressed, or overwhelmed, and you may be going a bit over the speed limit. So to help you relax, exhale. Ease up on the gas. You'll get there when you get there. Take a moment to just chill. This little break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy, why so glum?
Stinky ice cubes, Jason. It's all downhill from here.
What?
The tap water at my place smells kind of funky. Funky tap water makes funky ice cubes. I meet a nice girl, invite her back to my place for a cocktail, and blow my whole romantic gesture with a mojito that smells like dog's feet.
Wait, I can totally make you way cooler.
I'm not taking your charity ice cubes, Jason. I have my pride.
Your pride is safe. Our plumbers can be at your house the day you call and install a whole home water purification system. Water tastes better, dishes come out cleaner, even your hair feels better after you shower.
Ooh, the ladies love a man with soft hair, don't they, Jason?
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend every day worried about the water in your own home, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
This is Mike Lynch, PGA Golf Professional. Take it from me. If you're dealing with an orthopedic issue, talk to the doctors at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where you're treated like a pro.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where athletes are treated like pros. Thanks to all of you who have allowed us to be part of your recovery. Call us at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists if you ever have a need.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Join me, Max Fink, as I keep a close eye on everything that happens in Gator Nation.
The Gator Report, polished up by San Jose Collision on the home of the Florida Gators, 1010XL.
Go, Gators!
Frank Frangie here for Coil Fencing. Jacksonville is full of memorable sports moments. Remember Hal Sutton when he famously said, "Be the right club today"? Well, that's what Coil Fencing delivers, the right fence today. And they've been delivering the right fencing for both commercial and residential properties for nearly 100 years. If you're in the market for a new fence, call Coil & Sons today at 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com.
Playoff-bound Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp are in full swing at the newly renovated VyStar Ballpark. Your home for affordable family fun. Tickets start at just $5. Fireworks after every Friday home game, and kids round the bases after Sunday games. Log on to jackshrimp.com for tickets and details. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
North Florida is growing with lots of new families joining our community. If you're one of them making the move here, your next move should be a call to American Electrical to create the best home automation system, enhancing your living experience. There are many ways your life can be made easier through smart home technology, voice-activated systems, automated lighting, total house temperature control. With American Electrical, they've got everything you need to automate your home and make it your true oasis. Check out American-Electrical.com. Powered by professionalism and raising the excellence bar.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold's recently hit an all-time high at over $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Yo, ET here, and I need you to beat the heat this summer with cool escapes and non-stop fun in Clay County. Tackle indoor adventures head on. Throw axes at Live by Axe or smash your stress away at Just Smash That. Then kick back with drinks, good food, and fandom vibes at Nakama Anime Bar or Leaderboard Arcade and Bar. Whether you're blowing off steam or just looking to chill, Clay County got your perfect indoor getaway. Find your cool at exploreclay.com. That's exploreclay.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We started our NFL division previews back in early to mid-May. Every week we've gone every division, hit team by team, ending this week in the AFC South. And the final team we're going to talk about prior to, obviously, our hometown Jacksonville Jaguars is a stop with the favorite coming into 2025 in the AFC South. That is the Houston Texans. And when it comes to Houston, our guy out in Houston is John McClain. He has been a fixture on the Houston sports scene for many, many years. And John's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. John, good evening, my friend. How are you?
Couldn't be better. Thank you.
Hey, John, we always appreciate the time. All right, the Texans, the offseason that has been. First and foremost, John, let's rewind the clock back to the end of last year. Again, another playoff victory, another disappointment, I guess, in the divisional round. How did you assess the end of the season last year in Houston?
They blew out the Chargers in the wild card game like they blew out the Browns the year before. And then they went on the road to Kansas City the year before they'd gone on the road to Baltimore. Hang on one second. I got a call.
No worries. Take your time.
All right. Sorry. So they were supposed to lose, and they did lose. Didn't get blown out. They gave up 8 sacks. Their offensive line was horrible, as it has been most of the season. And as bad as the line was, and as many injuries as they had at receiver, Nico Collins missed 5 games. Stephon Diggs missed 8 games. And so they were plugging and playing a lot of receivers. The running game did really well with Joe Mixon. Joe scored, I think, 12 touchdowns and was certainly worth the 7th-round draft choice they gave up to Cincinnati to acquire him. But because their offensive line was so bad and the coaching was so terrible, I thought for them to beat the hell out of the Chargers, it would have been going strong, and then lose at Kansas City. No shame in that. Overall, it was a disappointing season. The Texans have never been beyond the second round of the playoffs. They've never had a divisional game at home. And the last time Houston had a team in the AFC Championship game was the Oilers after the 1979 season. So until the Texans prove that they can host a divisional game or win on the road in the divisional round and get to an AFC Championship game, I will never use Texans and Super Bowl in the same sentence.
John, in your opinion, C.J. Stroud last year, a sophomore slump? Is he more the quarterback we saw in 23, or is he more the quarterback we saw in 24? What's your opinion there?
Well, people around the league are nincompoops because they didn't see every play. They didn't see every drop back and realize how much he was pressured. The Eagles showed the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes what happens when you get pressured. Stroud was getting that all year. They were second or third in sacks allowed to Chicago, but he was pressured more than any quarterback in the league. There was a stat, but I can't remember if it's Pro Football Focus or Next Gen Stats, on when the ball was snapped, at least one Texans lineman was beaten immediately more than any team in the league.
Wow.
So, and then he had the injuries at receiver. So overall, did he play as well as he did the year before? No. And the reasons were quite apparent to anybody that watched him play. And he still made a lot of great plays. But when the ball is snapped and you're immediately having to run around and try to make plays down the field, people here understood that. That's one reason they brought in a new offensive line coach, a new offensive coordinator and play caller, and 5 new offensive linemen. Now, one of those being one you know really well, Cam Robinson. Are they bringing in these guys, and a lot of them didn't play well? So are they just kind of shoveling, you know what, and we won't know, but they think that coaching in a system, Nick Caley came from the Rams. He's a new coordinator and play caller. He was 10 years with the Patriots. He's got a little of Sean McVay in him, a little Josh McDaniels in him, but we're not going to know anything for sure till they start playing for real in September at the Rams. And I believe the Texans have a Super Bowl defense, but I do not believe they have a Super Bowl offense until they get their problems corrected with their pass protection.
John McClain has been covering the world of sports for over 50 years. He's been out in the Houston area forever. He's one of the best when it comes to talking about the Houston Texans, and he's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. John, you mentioned Cam Robinson. It's a very ex-Jaguar-centric roster for the Texans. Not only Robinson, Ronald Darby, and obviously Christian Kirk as well. How have the former Jaguars looked this offseason?
Well, Darby's gone, and Christian Kirk is healthy. When Christian Kirk was healthy for the Jaguars, and I know it wasn't all the time, but when he played against the Texans, he always played really well. It's like all his friends up at College Station were watching him, and they took notice of that. And they didn't have to pay him a big contract to get him, and they brought him in to play the slot. They drafted receivers in the second and third round. And I think Cam Robinson, they also drafted in the second round a guy named Ariante Ursary from Minnesota, a left tackle. Now, I don't see him starting right away. I think it'd be Robinson. Robinson's on a one-year deal, so he's got a chance to make money, if not here, somewhere else. You got to figure he played every game last year for 2 teams, and I think he got $14 million here. But this is a very, very important season for him. And so I think he probably knows he's going to be a one and done. They would never say that, but they didn't draft Ursary in the second round to have him as a backup for 2 years.
John, one of the more interesting signings the Texans made was relatively recently with Nick Chubb to pair him with Joe Mixon. Now, look, both guys are not getting any younger. Both guys have had injury problems. Of course, Nick Chubb has had big injury problems. But man alive, I mean, those two names on the same roster really jump out to you. How do you think they're going to use Mixon and Chubb this year?
Two former second-round picks with their second teams who know each other very well from the AFC North. Now, if they could have – if Chubb does anything like Mixon did last year, Mixon was terrific, their running game will be even better. You know, he blew out his knee to a point where they thought he might have to retire. He came back last year. Of course, he was not the same guy. And then he broke his foot. Well, he's 100%. He went through the entire off-season program. And sometimes those guys that have major surgery, it's the second year back before you get a more realistic barometer of where they're going to be. But the fact is they're both 29 years old. Dameon Pierce, who was really good here as a rookie 3 years ago, he was injured in the off-season program. I think he'll be gone. But those two, if they could stay healthy, that would give them a dangerous backfield. And the linemen they had before were actually good at run blocking. They just couldn't pass protect and couldn't figure out what they were going to do and acted like they had never seen a stunt. A lot of that, of course, is coaching. But DeMeco Ryans wants to run the ball. He wants to take pressure off Stroud. He wants to have a good defense. They've got the defense. The key now is, can they protect Stroud better than they did last year, more in line with what they did with a rookie? And can he take advantage of it with three new receivers, including Kirk and two draft choices?
Couple of more for John McClain covering the Houston Texans as our AFC South preview continues tonight here on 1010XL. John, I'm in complete agreement with you on the defense. Obviously, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, a great combo there on the line. Former Gator Chauncey Gardner-Johnson brings his swagger to that defense. Jalen Petrie, obviously, we know about the great secondary as well. And I guess our old buddy Azeez Al-Shire, who is not very popular in these parts, but still a very good player out there. What is your thought on the Texan defense heading into the season?
They loaded up with linemen. DeMeco Ryans says you cannot win if you can't win up front. Last year, they could not win up front on offense. They did on defense. They've brought in about 4 new ones. There's going to be good guys here who are cut in the final roster reduction, or they'll get low picks for. And they've got depth at linebacker. They've got a lot of depth. The one that we're not sure about, Christian Harris, who played great at the end of 2023, in which he'd been injured. Then he came back and was injured most of last season. They signed E.J. Sneed from the Colts, their second leading tackle, to go with Al-Shire and Henry To'oTo'o. But their secondary with Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter at corner, Jalen Petrie as their slot corner. He's a safety. And then C.J. is coming in here with his 6 interceptions and his Super Bowl ring to play with a rookie last year, Caleb Bullock, who was really good. So they have got talent in the secondary. They got depth in the secondary. They got depth across their defense. Where they don't have depth, at least we don't think it's good depth at this point, is the offensive line. And, of course, when you're relying on 2 rookie receivers to go with Nico Collins and Christian Kirk, both of whom have had injury issues, the receivers are going to have to step up as well.
John, I got to ask you before we talk about the division as a whole. Eric Murray was with the Texans last year. He's now here in Jacksonville, presumably as one of the starting safeties. What did the Jaguars get with Eric Murray?
Eric was brought in here by Bill O'Brien. He started off as a backup, really good special teams player. He played quite a bit every year because of injuries in the secondary. Everybody, they didn't want to lose him. They wanted to bring him back, but the Jaguars paid more than they were going to pay for a backup safety, and he's got more of an opportunity there than he has here. He'll work hard. He's a good guy and play special teams. He'll play whatever role the coaches want. And I think here they were very happy that he landed with the Jaguars, where he'll have a better opportunity to get playing time.
Final moments with John McClain. John, not only have you covered Houston forever, but you've covered the NFL forever. I mean, for crying out loud, the guy was in the longest yard with Adam Sandler, all right? When you're in the longest yard with Adam Sandler, you can ask John McClain almost anything. The Jaguars, all right? A 34-year-old general manager, a 39-year-old head coach, the trade up for Travis Hunter. John, what did you make of what the Jaguars did this offseason?
I thought getting Travis Hunter was great. He is the only guy in this draft that you could look at and say unequivocally, this guy's going to be a star. They don't know it about Cam Ward. He might be. They don't know it about some of those other guys, but he is going to be a star. He's going to be the face of the franchise who's not named Lawrence. And I remember when Liam Cohen was at Kentucky, and he was offensive coordinator, and Will Levis had his best season, and everybody started talking about, man, when that Levis comes out, he's going to be a high number one pick. Then Cohen left, and they lost a couple of receivers, but Levis has never been the same since. And he did a good job as an assistant coach last year. I think Liam Cohen is on a fast track to being a really, really good head coach, offensive-oriented. And I think that he'll be the best thing that's happened to Trevor Lawrence. And Lawrence, has not been the generational quarterback he was supposed to be when he was drafted first overall. And I think he has his best chance of fulfilling that responsibility that goes with it, with Cohen as his head coach. Of course, they got to run the ball. You got two running backs. They've got receivers. They got one of the best receivers in the league. And I just can't tell you how impressed I am with what they've done. I've been doing talk shows in Nashville and Knoxville for 28 years and Knoxville for 22. So I pay attention to the SEC. Also, I'm in Big 12 country, so I pay attention to that. But I remember when Cohen was at Kentucky, everybody worried about their offense. And they didn't have a lot of talent like other schools. Every step of the way, he's done well. So I thought that was a really good hire. As far as the GM, I like his haircut.
Yeah, James.
Wish I had hair like that again.
Yeah, James Gladstone's become quite the rock star here locally. John, final question. The AFC South as a whole, look, it's probably one of, if not the worst divisions in football coming into 2025. But having said that, I think every team, maybe outside of Tennessee, feels if things go their way, they could have a legitimate shot of winning this thing. How do you see the division stacking up entering training camp 1-4 right now?
Texans ought to win it for the third year in a row. Titans ought to finish last again. Then it's about the quarterbacks, and I would take Lawrence over Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. So I'm going to say it's going to be like 2 years ago when remember when the Jaguars had to win at Mike Vrabel's last game, and they would have won the division, and the Texans ended up making the playoffs, and they lost to the Titans. I think the division will be better, but going into the season, it's still the worst along with the NFC South. So if Trevor Lawrence can just stay healthy, play a little bit better under Liam Cohen in his first system with him, they can run the ball. I think Jacksonville can be second, compete for a wild card. Not saying they're going to make it, but they can compete. And I think with Jonathan Taylor, Indy's got a great running game, but you still got Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. They need to settle on a quarterback and leave him in, and I'm guessing that's going to be Daniel Jones on a one-year deal, so he's got a lot to play for. So the battle for second would beat those two, but if I had to pick right now, I'd say Jags second and Colts third.
5+ decades of covering the world of sports. He's one of the best. John McClain out there in the Houston area. John, thank you for the time. I know how busy you are. I really appreciate it. We'll talk again soon, pal.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
There you go. John McClain, man, one of the best. One of the best. He's been doing it a long, long time. And yeah, Denmark, he had a cameo in the Longest Yard, the Adam Sandler version. If you'll remember, have you ever seen that movie, by the way?
Yes, I don't remember that part, though.
Well, basically, when the game's being played, they're in the press box, and like Peter King's in the press box, and all these guys are in the press box. Well, one of the NFL reporters in the back is John McClain. They got a bunch of guys that have covered the league forever to be in that movie. And when Stone Cold Steve Austin got knocked the blank out, you can see John McClain in that press box. And there you go. There's his moment with Adam Sandler there in The Longest Yard. But we certainly appreciate John for joining us here tonight. Look, I think that's going to be the talking point for a lot of people. that the Texans are going to win the division by default. And look, if we didn't live in the Jacksonville area, and if Jaguar fans, Jaguar media, we would probably think the same thing. Now, I know that a number of you probably think Jacksonville is going to win the division. I honestly don't know. I have another 8 weeks, I guess, to figure it out. I'm either going Houston or Jacksonville. I'm leaning Houston right now because, again, I just think the Houston defense has the potential to be great. Not good, not above average. They have the potential to be great. I think C.J. Stroud will be better, and because of that, I'm leaning Houston, but they're going to be the overwhelming pick outside of the city of Jacksonville. I don't think I've talked to one person that covers the NFL on a regional or a national basis that hasn't had Houston at number one coming into the season. So we'll see what happens. But we've got the Texans side of things. Now let's talk about the Jaguar side of things. We are 2 weeks away from Jaguar training camp. 2 weeks from today, the Jaguars will be on the field at the Miller Electric Center. And 1 month from today, the Jaguars play their first preseason game of 2025. My buddy John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, one of my favorites to talk Jaguar football with. John joins me next to preview position battles, preview training camp. What are we looking for? Who's under the radar? What veterans are in trouble of not making the 53? We'll talk about all. But John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, joins me next right here on Hacker After Dark.
1010XL is multimedia. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
You can't buy this kind of media exposure.
1010XL, maximum media exposure.
If your house feels like a Florida swamp and your thermostat's just throwing out suggestions, then it's time to call Duck Duck Air Conditioning.
They showed up fast, fixed it right, and even cleaned up after. My house is finally chilled, and so am I.
Whether your AC needs a quick fix, a full replacement, or just a little TLC, Duck Duck Air Conditioning has got you covered with fast and honest service. Call 904-862-6769 to get your cool back, or online at duckduckac.com. When your AC is stuck, call the Duck.
1010XL is excited to support an evening of all-star fun as comedian David Spade joins MC and Gator basketball great Patrick Young to induct Olympic swimmers Nancy Hogshead and Ryan Murphy, golf legend Jim Furyk, and the iconic Lizard King into the Sawyer Sports Foundation's Jacksonville Sports Hall of Fame, presented by the Nimnick family of dealerships. Saturday, July 26th at the Community First Igloo. For single ticket and table sponsorship, go to JacksonvilleIceman.com.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and Triumph has branched off from on-road to off-road. Give us the latest on what they've got.
They've got the 250 and the 450. Rick Carmichael designed these bikes himself, and they are bad to the bone.
So you're talking about a really cool effect from a bike off-road that Triumph had on-road forever.
It is, and it's out there winning races, and it is fun to ride.
Check it out, Cycles of Jacksonville, their showroom on Atlantic near Regency, or online on their Facebook page.
Say goodbye to glasses and contacts with customized vision treatments at Bowden Associates. Hey, Hicken here. Dr. Bowden and his expert team bring you all the latest options like Evo implantable Caliber lenses, refractive lens exchange, or traditional LASIK. Tailored just for you. Imagine waking up to clear vision. No hassle, no fuss. You ready to see the difference? Call now or visit BowdenEye.com for a free screening. Bowden Associates, keeping the first coast focused.
Put some gusto in your golf game with Dan, Jeff, and the PGA Pros on Brunch with the Tour. Teed up by Clearwater Irrigation and Apex Roofing and Contracting. Brunch provided by Chick-fil-A. 8:30 Tuesday morning on 1010XL.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Has someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI, domestic violence, and all criminal offenses. In your battle with the justice system, there's only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein and Robbins, 354-5645. 354-5645.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out The Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At The Y summer camps, every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
Did you know that for every inch of rain on a 2,000 square foot roof, 1,500 gallons come off the eaves of the roof? Call Clearwater Seamless Gutters and Drainage, and we'll design a plan using our Clearwater Seamless Gutters, and we'll connect those gutters to a Clearwater drainage system to solve your erosion and standing water issues.
Clearwater Seamless Gutters. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at gutters. And drainage, too.
SeamlessGuttersJacksonville.com. When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
Are you living with diabetic neuropathy? That pain and numbness in your hands or feet? What about chronic knee or shoulder pain? Maybe you've tried various treatments, but they've been ineffective. Now there's a solution. Dr. Ferdinand Formoso specializes in advanced pain management and offers breakthrough neuromodulation treatments for those conditions. His innovative treatments target the source of your pain, offering relief where medications may fall short. All procedures are performed outpatient with no hospitalization required. Just a chance for you to feel and live better. If you want to learn more, Dr. Formoso is hosting free informational classes where he'll explain the benefits of neuromodulation therapies and how they can help eliminate your pain. Spaces are limited, so call to reserve your spot now with offices on the South Side, West Side, and Jacksonville Beach. Relief is possible with Formoso spine and joint pain specialists.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. 2 weeks, if you can believe that, 2 weeks before Jaguar training camp. The first training camp practice that's open to the public will be on Wednesday, July the 23rd. 9 training camp practices in total will be open to the public this year. Let's talk training camp. Let's talk position battles and everything in between with my buddy John Shipley. Jaguars on SI is where you find his terrific work, and John is always kind enough to join us here on Hacker After Dark. John, how we doing?
I'm doing good, my friend. How you doing?
Hey, John, we're good. Hope your summer is going well. Boy, did we have an off season, John? 2 weeks before training camp. I call it one of the craziest, if not the craziest off seasons ever. It's wild that we're 2 weeks outside of camp. It doesn't even feel like the off season ever came.
Yeah, I feel like I aged about 10 years this off season, and then I feel like the period in between the last mini camp practice and the first training camp practice has taken about 5 seconds, when normally it feels like one of the longest times of the year. So no, it was the busiest offseason I can remember in, my 6 years covering the team. And I've covered them hiring Urban Meyer, hiring Doug Peterson, the GM search for Trent Baalke, all that good stuff. So this was definitely the busiest and craziest offseason I've seen them have. And it feels very good that now it feels like it's finally becoming real. You're getting past all the change and getting to just football.
I mean, when you think about the hire of Cohen, the hire of Gladstone, the hire of Baselli, the trade for Travis Hunter, I mean, any other thing that you even want to mention, what were the signature moments of the offseason? What was the one signature moment of the offseason, in your opinion?
I think the biggest one has to be just getting Liam Cohen. That entire experience, dropping out of several, they're running for other head coaches, Ben Johnson, getting hired by the Chicago Bears. Then Liam Cohen announces he's going back to Tampa Bay. Obviously created a lot of stress, I think, within the Jacksonville fan base. And even, perhaps within the organization for a little bit, but they got their guy, the guy that they targeted, all along. He had an absolute home run in his first meeting with the team. And it felt like after that, even before Ben Johnson went to Chicago, that Liam Cohen was the guy they were zeroing in on. So I think just the dramatics of that, you have a general manager and the team parting ways, in the middle of that after he had already been helping lead the search. It's something that doesn't happen very often in the NFL. So to me, that's the signature moment. But getting Travis Hunter as well, you can make the argument that Travis Hunter might be the biggest story in the NFL right now entering the season, just because of Heisman Trophy winner, played for a big-time program under Deion Sanders, and obviously nobody's ever done what he's trying to do. And when you're doing something bold like that, you're going to have opinions from all corners of the world.
John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, John, let's begin with Travis Hunter. As you were talking about, you got your eyes on him at rookie minicamp, at OTAs, at veteran minicamp. I can't wait till the pads come on July 28th. I think we're going to have a much better idea at that point, the plan for Travis Hunter as training camp opens. But what's your initial thought? Primary offense and sprinkle in on defense? How is this going to work with Travis Hunter, in your opinion?
Well, just listening to them and seeing how they use Travis Hunter throughout the course of the offseason program, it made you certainly think, offense first, and then he'll play defense here and there, have a role certainly. But listening to the words coming from the Jaguars organization since then, primarily, James Gladstone did an interview with Sirius XM NFL Radio a couple weeks ago where he said it was actually kind of a misconception because their plan was they wanted him to focus on wide receiver primarily during the offseason program specifically because, of course, once you get the pads on, once you get ready for training camp, once you get ready for week one, etc., there's not a lot of development that goes on. You're mostly just getting ready to, go and play a game, put together a game plan, learn the offense, etc. So the time for development was in the offseason. So judging by what James Gladstone said, it sure seems like that's why they had him at receiver more often than not, because everybody knows he needs more development at wide receiver. He's been primarily a cornerback throughout, his football life. Obviously has played both positions, but he's a more natural cornerback than wide receiver. Obviously has to learn the, certain nuances of the wide receiver position. Just listening to that perspective, I really do feel like, you might see a true 50-50 split in terms of his snaps, and that it could very well be something that kind of fluctuates on a game-by-game basis, and that they won't go into the season saying he needs to play this many snaps on offense, this many snaps on defense. Sometimes they might need him on defense more. Sometimes they might need him on offense more.
John, when you look at the roster and the depth chart, wide receiver, obviously, Brian Thomas Jr., Parker Washington, De'Ami Brown, Joshua Cephas, I guess. Defensive backs are Tyson Campbell, Jordan Lewis, Jarian Jones, Monteric Brown. Where is the biggest need for Travis Hunter right now, the wide receiver room or the DB room?
That's tough. I want to say after what we saw last season with the secondary, the DB room, just because obviously with Tyson Campbell injured, the defensive scheme they were running, the issues at safety, the issues of the pass rush, due to a giant mix of things. The secondary was just simply pitiful last year. There's no really other way to put it. They had good players in the secondary. Tyson Campbell, even though he was injured, we all know he's a good player. Buster Brown has certainly outplayed his draft slot. Jarian Jones had a solid rookie season, but none of it really came together, to really form a coherent secondary. Now they've added other pieces in there. Jordan Lewis, Eric Murray. I think Buster Brown should be even better in this scheme than he was in the last one. I think the scheme even fits Tyson Campbell better. He's always been a corner who plays really well when he's reading the quarterback just because of his instincts and high football IQ. So as long as he can stay healthy, it seems like they've thrown enough resources at the secondary to where I think, they have to go into a game without Travis Hunter playing primarily over there. They'll be okay. And as for wide receiver, Brian Thomas Jr. is the top 10 receiver in the NFL. I think De'Ami Brown had a really good offseason program, but I still think he's probably best as your third option in the passing game or as a receiver. The days that Travis Hunter played defense in the offseason, I felt like you could see a difference in the offense. It just feels like they need him and his presence on the field at offense, just because outside of Brian Thomas Jr. and obviously De'Ami Brown brings some things, but they're still a little light in terms of depth at the receiver position.
Couple of more for John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, as we preview training camp 2 weeks away from Jaguar camp here in the city of Jacksonville. All right, John, let's go rapid fire with a couple of these. First and foremost, the offensive line. They brought in 6 new guys, 4 in free agency, 2 in the draft. Of the 6, how many will make the 53-man roster, in your opinion?
I think 6. I think all 4 veterans make it. At least 2 of them start. You can see Wyatt Milam start. And I just don't think that they wanted to use draft picks on any of these guys to let them leave the building early. I think that they see a need across the roster for young guys to come in and develop, especially on cheap contracts. So I think Jonah Monheim probably makes a roster simply because he was a draft pick. I don't think he'll play really at all unless they have injuries, but I think all 6 make the team as of today.
If all 6 make it, and then you take into account Anton Harrison, Walker Little, I suppose Ezra Cleveland until something else happens with him, that's 9. And then that doesn't even take into account Javon Foster, Cole Van Lannon, Luke Fortner. I mean, who's in trouble there?
I think all of the above. Cole Van Lannon maybe has a little bit of a upper hand on them just because, you know, he had such a strong offseason program last year. He's seen as really a guy who can be a potential swing tackle type of guy. He's played guard before, etc. Javon Foster, this regime didn't draft him. They had nothing to do with him. They added multiple bodies at offensive tackle this offseason. I saw him play a lot of guard during the offseason program, so we'll see if he takes a step forward and does well there. But really seems like he's, you know, under the microscope. And then Luke Fortner, I don't even if Luke Fortner made the team, I don't think I'd consider him the number 2 center. I really think Patrick McCarry is the number 2 center. And that if they have any injuries with Robert Hainsey, that you'll just see him slide over to center, and then you probably see some mixture of Milam, Ezra Cleveland at the guard spot. So I think Fortner, even with his experience with Liam Cohen dating back to, I think, 2021 in Kentucky, he has to really prove something, in my opinion, to stick around this roster. Because another thing you've seen on the offensive line is everybody has versatility. That's an issue with Fortner. He hasn't played any guard. He kind of struggles with strength and power, etc. If he can only play center, I'm not really sure what the value is for him.
Similar question, John, to the offensive line. We go to the defensive side of the ball. I look at safety, man. There's too many guys and not enough spots when you take into account special teamers like Wingard and Daniel Thomas, the rookies and Wayne and Ransaw, and then you obviously have Eric Murray, Darnell Savage, Antonio Johnson. How's the safety room going to play itself out?
Yeah, it's a very competitive room, and they needed to make it competitive after how last year went. I think they should open the year with Murray and Savage as their starters. Murray's very experienced and should help a lot of the communication issues they had last year, while Savage, I think, is one of their best pure athletes and playmakers in the entire secondary, not just at safety. Ransaw, I think you're going to see him open the year with maybe a little bit of a limited role on defense, and then they slowly bring him along. I don't imagine Dewey and Daniel Thomas are going anywhere either because they are 2 special teams aces. Lane, a lot like with Monheim, I don't think they're looking to move on from any draft picks anytime soon. So I think Antonio Johnson is really the guy who might be on the bubble right now. Has a lot of really interesting traits, but just last year as a starter, it looked like it was too much for him.
Final moments, John Shipley, Jaguars on SI. ETN versus Bigsby. Who wins the running back battle?
That one, I'm not sure I can call yet because I want to see how this offensive line adjusts the Liam Cohen scheme because I see 2 different paths. Liam Cohen said when he got hired that last year at Tampa Bay, he wanted to run a zone scheme, but he very quickly found out that they blocked better for a gap scheme. If they run a zone scheme this year, if that's what the offensive line's better at, I'd say ETN. But if they run a gap scheme with a lot of pulling guards, a lot of downhill running, I think it'll be Tank Bigsby's room. So I think it really just depends on what kind of running scheme the rest of the offense is built for.
Outside of running back, outside of offensive line, outside of safety, is there another position that jumps out to you that's going to have some fierce competition as camp opens?
Yeah, I think cornerback. I think it's very clear that Tyson Campbell and Jordan Lewis are their top 2 cornerbacks. Travis Hunter will also get plenty of snaps over there. But, what about the other spot? The number 3, number 4 potentially spot between Jarian Jones and Buster Brown. I think Jarian Jones obviously has the draft pedigree, had a really strong year last year, a lot of fans in the fan base, but Buster Brown, just what he did in the offseason, I got a comment after several offseason observations articles saying, are any other cornerbacks practicing? Because you're writing a lot about Buster Brown. That was the kind of offseason he had. He did something really in every practice to stand out. So I think that'll be a tightly contested one.
And you kind of look around, every year there's a surprise cut, it seems. Any chance that we see a surprise, whether it's, I don't know, I hate to single anybody out, but a Chad Muma as an example, or somebody along those lines? You mentioned Antonio Johnson. Who are the veterans on this team? Maybe anybody that we haven't mentioned yet that might be in trouble?
Yeah, I could see Chad Muma just because they added a guy in Jack Kaiser. They seem to be very high on Ventrell Miller from what I've seen and at least heard so far. So I think Muma's a logical one. I think Luke Fortner's a potential one. Antonio Johnson's a potential one. I don't think Ezra Cleveland, just because there's so much money attached with him if you move on from him, and they're already eating so much dead cap. So really for the surprise cuts, I think they already kind of made them, moving on from Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Gabe Davis. I think in terms of surprise guys they're moving on from, they kind of already ripped that Band-Aid off early.
All right, John, as we wrap up, let's end with Trevor Lawrence. Look, huge year coming in for him. Your thoughts on how he performed in the offseason to your eye, and what are your expectations for him as camp opens?
Well, I thought he had a, generally fine offseason. I think when you're bringing in a new offensive system, that the real point of OTAs and mini camps is getting that system down, the little nuances, even breaking the huddle, et cetera. I don't think the actual pass to completion or touchdown ratio in practice is really all that important in the offseason, especially in a new offense. I know a lot of fans, they see some days where he threw interceptions posted on social media, and it would absolutely ruin their afternoon. I just don't think the offseason, especially in Liam Cohen's first year, implementing his system is all that important in terms of practice performance and OTAs and minicamp. But I thought he showed a strong arm as usual. I thought he showed that he's really a fit for the scheme because it allows him to escape the pocket. It allows him to kind of, push the boundaries of the defenses, et cetera. I think that ultimately, once things really get real for him in week 1 and beyond, that he's going to have one of the better, at least production-wise, numbers of his career, as long as he can stay healthy. And I just believe that he's such a fit in Liam Cohen's scheme, and Liam Cohen can do so much to make things easier for him, that he should be expected to have a strong year.
John, we're less than 2 weeks away from camp. Jaguars on SI. Looking the good folks here in Jacksonville look forward to when they head on over to the website.
Yeah, I did an interview yesterday with one of the best players in franchise history, talking about a pretty key player on the Jaguars roster. I don't want to give too much away, but you can look for that coming out on Friday.
John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, does a terrific job covering the Jacksonville Jaguars. John, enjoy the last couple of weeks of downtime. I'll see you out there at training camp.
Yes, sir. I'll see you there, my friend.
Denny Hamlin.
I'm Denny Hamlin, driver the number 11 Toyota Camry for Joe Gibbs Racing.
Denny Hamlin wins his second Daytona 500.
And you're listening to 1010 XL, Jack's Sports Radio.
Here's Linda Beaver.
The dog days of summer are here, and so are the hottest deals of the year. Whether you're hauling down the street, cruising on the beach, or just escaping the heat, we have the ride you're looking for and the wow you experience you deserve. Save big on select models with sizzling summer savings, low financing, and limited time bonus cash on all trades. So don't sweat it. Come beat the heat at Beaver Automotive, where the summer deals will wow you.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy. Why so glum?
Stinky ice cubes, Jason. It's all downhill from here.
What?
The tap water at my place smells kind of funky. Funky tap water makes funky ice cubes. I meet a nice girl, invite her back to my place for a cocktail, and blow my whole romantic gesture with a mojito that smells like dog's feet.
Wait, I can totally make you way cooler.
I'm not taking your charity ice cubes, Jason. I have my pride.
Your pride is safe. Our plumbers can be at your house the day you call and install a whole home water purification system. Water tastes better, dishes come out cleaner, even your hair feels better after you shower.
Ooh, the ladies love a man with soft hair, don't they, Jason?
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend every day worried about the water in your own home, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey, and I only like to recommend the best, which is why I'm proud to say that I chose Pella Windows and Doors for my own home. And now's a great time to upgrade your home with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Don't wait. Schedule a free consultation at PellaJacks.com or visit their showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. For quality you can trust and savings you can't miss, that's Pella Windows and Doors.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Right now, you may be running a little late, or feeling stressed, or overwhelmed, and you may be going a bit over the speed limit. So to help you relax, exhale. Ease up on the gas. You'll get there when you get there. take a moment to just chill. This little break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Sun's out. Deals on at Hurricane Grill and Wings. Summer's here, and so are the flavor-packed deals, like a Yingling beer-battered fish sandwich, chicken salad lettuce wraps, or the combo basket, all for under $14. Craving more? Add 3 bone-in wings to any handheld or entree for just $3.49. Sip on a refreshing peach tea cocktail, or grab an ice-cold Michelob Ultra. Perfect for patio season. Summer's never tasted this good. Find yours at hurricanewings.com.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. As temperatures warm up around us, ants come out in droves. And when they move into your home or business, it's unnerving. Terminix knows that ants add up fast. But Terminix subtracts them faster because living with ants isn't any fun. When ants show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with an ant problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
Tired of wrestling with your shower curtain like it's a slip and slide gone wrong? Ditch the drama and say hello to a smooth, stylish glass shower enclosure from Baker Glass. Wago Glass is clean, elegant, and makes your bathroom look huge and brighter. Give your shower a makeover and feel like you're in a spa without the price tag. I'm Mac at Baker Glass. Call me and get ready to love your new shower. Let's make your shower great again. Remember, Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
Summertime is busy with graduation parties, summer barbecues, festivities, family gatherings. The month of July, National Carpet Cleaning Month. So Zero Res is offering $45 per room of carpet clean and 20% off air duct cleaning services as well. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResJacksonville.com or call them 287-5727 and ask for the 1010XL special. Zero Res, spelled backwards or forwards, it spells the same. Zero Res.
Zero Res. 1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Halftime, Hacker After Dark, 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Thank you to John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, for joining us here to preview Jaguar training camp. I thought he brought up some good points. And look, I tend to agree with him. You know, the rookie class, all the veteran free agents that the Jaguars brought in, I would tend to think an overwhelming majority, if not all of them, are going to make the 53-man roster. I mean, there's no loyalty here for what Liam Cohen and James Gladstone inherited. Obviously, there's loyalty to, you know, the big guys. That goes without saying. Lawrence and BTJ and Trayvon Walker, Hines Allen, Aluik and Campbell. There's 10 or 15 guys that are safe regardless. But if you're Liam Cohen, if you're James Gladstone, you want to put your stamp on this team. Well, you drafted 9 guys. You would think they'd want to keep all 9, right? Within reason. You brought in 13, 14 veteran free agents. I would anticipate them keeping all of them, if not an overwhelming majority of them. So it's going to be a vastly different looking 53-man roster here in Jacksonville than what we've had certainly in years past, which is probably a good thing because last year the Jaguars were awful. Now, was that a coaching problem? Was that a player personnel problem? Was that all of the above? Well, maybe. But I think you're going to see some vastly different players in that player personnel with this 53-man roster here in 2025. More on the Jaguars coming up later on. Also, a treat coming up in about 30 minutes or so. Malavia Washington is going to join me. Mal Washington was a finalist at Wimbledon back in 1996. Yeah, also in his career, I believe, a quarterfinalist at the Australian Open. I think he made the round of 16 at both the French Open and the U.S. Open. He was an accomplished player for many, many years. He's had the great Mal Washington Foundation here locally now for 29 straight years. I want to talk to Mal Washington, who knows a thing or two about Wimbledon, about the American resurgence on the men's side. Ben Shelton, the former Florida Gator, did lose today, but he made it to the quarterfinals of Wimbledon. You got Taylor Fritz on Friday making it to the semifinals, playing Carlos Alcaraz. You got other Americans like Francis Tiafoe, Tommy Paul, that have worked their way into the top 20, top 15 players in the world. It's the best American men's tennis has been in a long time with the quantity of guys that are inside the top 20 of the ATP rankings. Why has the American men's game gotten a little bit better than it has in years past? And talk about a changing of the guard in men's tennis. You know, forever it was Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, Andy Murray, Novak Djokovic. Forever. Well, the only one left is Djokovic, who is just amazing, by the way. More on him in a moment. But Murray's retired, Nadal's retired, Federer's retired. Who's going to pick up the flag for those guys and move the men's game forward? Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, maybe one of these Americans. So we'll talk to Mal Washington about all that. Denmark, admittedly, I know that you're not the biggest tennis fan, but you are familiar with the greatness of Novak Djokovic. Novak is in the semifinals for Wimbledon again. He won today. He's in the semifinals. He'll play Friday against Jannik Sinner. Do you know, and he's won 24 majors, by the way, just an incredible, ridiculous number. Do you know what number semifinal this is for Novak Djokovic in the Grand Slams in his career?
There's 4 Grand Slams, right?
4 Grand Slams per year. How many semifinals now has Novak made in his career, knowing there's only 4 per year?
He's won 24. I'll say 63.
You're giving him maybe in a couple of years, but you're not far off. 52 semifinals for Novak Djokovic. That's insane, man. I mean, and it takes 5 wins to get to a semifinal of a Grand Slam in tennis. Knowing that alone, you're talking 260 wins in Grand Slams, and he's got more than that because he's got 24 titles. It's stupid how good Novak Djokovic is. 38 years old, still running with the young guys and beating the young guys. And again, he finds himself once again in a semifinal on Friday against one of the best players in the world, Jannik Sinner, who did beat Ben Shelton, the American, earlier today. So Mal Washington, that's going to be fun for me. That comes up in about 25 minutes. Coming up next, we'll shift gears to a little college football. Big 12 Media Days going on out in Dallas. Of course, the SEC Media Days next week in Atlanta. It's going to be all football all the time when it comes to 2025. But recruiting's been hot and heavy, particularly in Gainesville. They've added, 14 commitments, roughly, in the last 5 weeks. It's been pretty fast. It's been pretty furious. And there are 3 commitment announcements coming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, in which the Gators might be in good shape to land all 3 guys. Why has it picked up so much, this recruiting cycle for Billy Napier in Florida? What is the reasoning for that? Are they in play with any local guys in the Jacksonville area? What about the quarterback, Will Griffin, the Elite 11 quarterback? He is the headliner of the class. We'll take a deep dive into what the Gators are doing on the recruiting trail. A very active recruiting trail for Billy Napier. We'll do that with Tyler Harden of 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. He joins us next here on a Wednesday evening in the city of Jacksonville with Dylan Denmark. The hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. It's 1010XL. It's 92.5 FM. It's Hacker After Dark.
You have arrived at your destination.
And you were meant to be here.
This is 1010XL.
This is your time.
Hi, Zoe Saldana. Welcome to T-Mobile. Here's your new iPhone 16 Pro on us.
Thanks. And here's my old phone to trade in.
You don't need a trade-in. When you switch to T-Mobile, we'll give you a new iPhone 16 Pro. Plus, we'll help you pay off your old phone up to $800, and you still get to keep it.
There's always a trade-in.
Not right now at T-Mobile.
I feel like I have to give you something in return for karma.
That's okay.
I don't really have much in my purse. Oh, let's see. Hand sanitizer. It's lavender.
I'm good. Seriously.
Let me check this pocket. Oh, mints?
Really, I'm fine.
Oh, I have raisins. I'm a mom. Wait 1 sec. I've got cupcakes in the car.
It's our best iPhone offer ever. Switch to T-Mobile. Get a new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. No trade-in needed. We'll even pay off your phone up to $800.
With 24 monthly bill credits, new line, $100 plus a month on experience beyond finance agreement, $999.99 and qualifying forwarded. For well-qualified plus tax and $10 connection charge. Pay off via virtual prepaid card until 15 days. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. See T-Mobile.com.
Got a clogged drain that just won't quit? It's time to bring in the pros. Duck Duck Rooter.
I called Duck Duck Rooter for a clogged kitchen drain. They showed up fast and had it cleared in no time. No mess, no stress.
We've seen it all. Grease clogs, hairballs, mystery goo from the deep. Whatever's blocking your pipes, we'll get it flowing again. Call 904-862-6769 now to schedule your drain cleaning service. That's 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the duck.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
City Rescue Mission has been providing food, clothing, and love for over 70 years to the homeless in Jacksonville. If someone you know is struggling, learn more about the City Rescue Mission at crmjax.org.
You have healing power. Even writing a letter or volunteering can help heal a veteran. Find out more at healvets.org.
If you know someone with cancer and no insurance, call the U.S. Uninsured Helpline at 800-234-1317.
Hope Haven believes in children and youth with special needs and abilities and has developed programs to help ensure their success. Find out more about their employment services and internship program at hope-haven.org.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
David Lane here, and once again, I'm happy to share news of my successful back and knee surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Whatever it is that's bothering you, take it from me. Simply set an appointment today at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists and let them help you get back to normal life. I'm certainly glad I did.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish. And he's listening to the Nimnicht Outdoors Show.
With tips and stories.
Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Every Saturday morning, 7 to 10.
On 1010XL.
Are you ready to play this summer? At the First Coast YMCA, we're committed to being your home for health and wellness and a place for friendly competition with team sports for adults and for kids. Basketball, volleyball, pickleball, flag football, soccer. The Y has something for everyone at any age. Discover all the benefits of YMCA membership and find your fun this summer at the Y. Registration for team sports and summer camps is open now. Visit fcymca.org.
Hi, I'm John Haney from Clearwater Gutters and Drainage. After heavy rains, the problems are obvious. Mulch blown out of your beds, water standing around your foundation, and that fancy new crater back behind your bushes. Let Clearwater Seamless Gutters help you solve the problem spots.
Clearwater Seamless Gutters. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at gutters.
And drainage too.
Find out more at clearwaterjacks.com.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
If a birthday or an anniversary is looming in your future, take care of it today by ordering a floral arrangement online at CuneFlowers.com. Hi, Flying Jacko here. Take it from me. An arrangement from Cune Flowers works like magic.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line.
Hello.
Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, the Florida Gators have been red hot on the recruiting trail in the last couple of weeks. Numerous four-star prospects now committed to the University of Florida. Why has Billy Napier kind of found his footing in this year's recruiting class right now? What's on the horizon and what's next for Florida as we enter football camp that begins in the first part of August? Tyler Harden does a terrific job covering Florida Gator recruiting for 247sports.com, Swamp 247, and Tyler's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Tyler, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Hey, Tyler, no problem, man. We always appreciate the time. We know you've been very busy because Florida has been very busy on the recruiting trail. You know, first and foremost, Tyler, I remember about a month ago, Gator fans were, I won't say panicking, but they were getting interested as to why Florida just had no commitments for the 26 class. And my goodness, man, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, the commitments have come in fast and furious. Why has Florida had so much success as of late on the recruiting trail?
Yeah, I mean, it all starts with the staff, of course, right? I mean, they had 4 weekends of official visitors coming on campus, and they really just executed every single one of those weekends. I mean, you know, right from the start, we saw Jameer Perez commit on that first Sunday, May 18th. And of course, he's since flipped to Ohio State. But every weekend after that, you know, the Gators just kind of, you know, honed in on guys and landed the guys they were supposed to after every official visit weekend. And that kind of rolled into the rest of June. So, yeah, I mean, they just executed in the way they had to after every official visit weekend and got those guys that they had to get after every weekend.
This class starts with Will Griffin, the quarterback, who was part of the Elite 11 camp last month. Let Gator fans, Tyler, know about Will Griffin. What do you like about him as a prospect?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it all comes down to leadership with him, right? The thing you would want out of any quarterback. You know, he's been committed to Florida for over a year, and ever since he's, you know, done his best and done his part to build this class up slowly but surely. But as a player, you know, given his size, he's really mobile, right? You know, I kind of see a little bit of DJ Lagway in him. Yeah, Lagway's a little more mobile, but, you know, Will Griffin, he kind of shows little stints of surprise that, you know, you might not, you know, think he's as mobile as he is. But, you know, of course, he's good at locating passes and he's good at making those contested throws. So there really isn't much not to like about Will, you know, as a quarterback, but also just a leader. You know, it just kind of comes full circle in the end.
Tyler Harden, 247 Sports, Swamp 247, covering Florida Gator recruiting with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Obviously, it appears on the surface, Tyler, that the offensive line was a big need for Florida in the 26 class. I believe 5 offensive linemen are currently committed for Billy Napier and the Florida Gators. What about the offensive line? Do you like the class they've put together right now?
Yeah, no, it's you know, the theme with the group they've brought in is development, and Rob Sale and John DeCoster have kind of showed that development is kind of, you know, their bread and butter. So this is a group that you're really going to see that in. Guys like Javari Lucas and Tyler Chikuyem, like they're going to be guys that, you know, over the course of maybe a couple years or even more, you're going to see that development that, you know, the coaches kind of hone in on, you know, over the years and that they've done so well in. So this is a group right here that you're really going to see, you're really going to realize how good, you know, this staff is at developing their offensive linemen. This group right here is really going to show that.
Well, and it really goes all together because we talk about this upcoming Florida football season, how 4/5 of the offensive line is back from last year. But what does that mean? That means all 4 of those guys are going to be gone in 2026. So you need to replenish the offensive line. Obviously, Florida knows that. That's why they have 5 commitments for the offensive line. And one of the other things, Tyler, that sticks out about this class right now, look, last year was a terrific wide receiver class for Billy Napier. We talk about Vernell Brown, Nashawn Montgomery, obviously Dallas Wilson. But they haven't stopped in the receiving recruiting either. They've gotten a couple of really good wide receiver commitments already for 26 as well.
Yeah, The guy that sticks out to me obviously is Justin Williams, right? 1,000 yards receiving and 1,000 yards rushing. One of probably the better athletes, not only in Florida's class, but the entire 2026 class in the country. So, not to mention Florida didn't have to go far to land him. He's a Gainesville guy, went to Buell's. So just an absolute score that Florida was able to keep him home. And, they're going to have quite the athlete, in the next few years once he gets on campus.
Couple of more for Tyler Harden, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247, covering Florida Gator recruiting. On the defensive side of the ball, Tyler, they've landed a couple of good prospects. One recently, right? Morris, the linebacker out of Lakeland. What can you tell us about the defensive commitments to this point?
Yeah, it's really been an up and down journey with the defense, right? Kind of starting with that defensive line. We entered the summer, and the defensive line was probably one of the more confident position groups that Florida had when looking at their 2026 board. And, like I said, it's been a roller coaster ever since the start of the summer. 4-star defensive lineman, Vodney Cleveland, at one point, Florida was the leader. Texas came in with a late pitch and, eventually swung him to the Longhorns. Kendall Gervil, Texas was his number one school for a long time. Florida came in with a late pitch and eventually swung him. Trenton Henderson, a 5-star edge rusher. Florida was the leading school. LSU comes in with a late pitch. It swings him. So the theme here with not only just the defensive line, but seemingly, school positions all across the defense, it's been all about, the final hours and what schools do with it. And really you could say that about all of recruiting nowadays, but really Florida's felt it on the defensive front, especially, in the trenches and everything. So it's been a roller coaster, but, this weekend, 4-star edge rusher KJ Ford's going to come off the board. And, 2026 linebacker DQ Forkpaw is going to come off the board on Saturday. So this is, it's slated to be a big weekend for Florida's defense. And, it's going to keep going up and down as it's been throughout the summer.
Tyler, I lived in this world that you're in for 3 years when I covered recruiting back in, I believe, 2016, 2017, and 2018. So I appreciate what you do because it's not easy to talk to all these kids and do all this stuff. I did it on a regional basis, the entire SEC. It was pretty wild there for 3 years. But one thing I do remember from that experience is how different the recruiting calendar is now. I mean, June and July, back when I did it, were dead. Nothing ever happened. And now it seems like you're getting huge commitments every single day. Is that just the world of NIL? Is that the world of the early signing period? Why has the recruiting calendar changed so much?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think, you can look at the early signing period and really kind of look at that as everything kind of, bumping back. Like you said, it wasn't always, busy in the summer. Now it is, of course, right? Because guys want to go into the season, having their decision made and, then can kind of have that seamless transition to the college level. A lot of these guys, of course, will get on campus in January. So I feel like, just the addition of the early signing period. And then, of course, NIL is only going to keep it there, if not, continue to change things, right? That's still kind of a new thing. And we're still all kind of getting our footing in that, in this day and age of NIL. So I think, we're slated for more change. When it comes to the recruiting calendar, it's just a matter of which way it'll go within a year calendar. But, this is just kind of the nature of the beast with this. And, I think as it stands right now, it'll look completely different in 5 years.
Final moments, Tyler Harden, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. Tyler, I want to talk about what Florida fans need to be on the lookout for. But our area, the Jacksonville area, has been very beneficial to Florida and Billy Napier. He seems to have made this a priority. You look at Austin Barber, Trayon Webb, Marcus Burke, last year, Tramel Jones and Drake Stubbs. Obviously, Jacksonville is a priority. I don't believe they have anybody from Jacksonville in the 26 class, but clearly McElwain and Mullen were not making Jacksonville a priority. It appears Napier has.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that sticks out to me right now in the 2026 class, I mean, he's not a Jacksonville guy, but he's not from too far from Jacksonville, and that's 4-star wide receiver Samorian Wingo. He's set to make a decision, sometime in August, closer to the school year. It's coming down to Florida, South Carolina, and Miami. So, and, Florida's in a good position right now. There's still some room for development there. He has a really good relationship with wide receiver coach Billy Gonzalez, and that seems to always have put Florida in an ideal spot. So, I like the Gators right now there, but like I said, there's just so much time for development, and like I said before, that's kind of the day and age we live in recruiting, where things can change on a dime, and there is still time for things to happen. But I like where Florida stands with them.
Tyler, obviously in the summer months, it's a lot easier to host these on-campus visits and do this sort of thing, but August 1st is coming, right? I mean, the season, they're actually going to be playing some football here pretty soon. How does the recruiting world change for the coaching staff once fall camp begins?
Yeah, that's, when things really start to get hectic, because these guys take game day visits, guys in Florida's class, of course, I don't know for certain right now, but, I could confidently bet that there's going to be guys in this class that go and take visits elsewhere. Right. These guys want to go see game days. They want to see those types of atmospheres. They just want to get on campuses again. Right. So this, when they say it's flip season, this is the fall when it starts to get closer to signing day. And, guys are really thinking about, like, is this the decision I want, or do I want to change things while I still have the time? So this is when it's going to start to get hectic. The summer is hectic, but in a different way. And I think, we're going to see some movement this fall. And, based on how the rest of the summer goes, I think some of that movement could benefit Florida and, see if they can pull off some flips again like they did last year.
All right, Tyler, for Gator fans that follow recruiting, you've mentioned a couple in the coming days. What do they need to be on the lookout for as far as these commitment announcements?
Well, it's a big weekend coming up, so the timing of this is pretty good. On Friday, 4-star edge rusher KJ Ford's going to come off the board. He's deciding between Florida, Ohio State, and Texas A&M. Saturday, we're going to keep it rolling. 2026 linebacker DQ Forkpaw, he's coming off the board, deciding between Florida, Florida State, Michigan, Miami, and some others. And then finally, four-star tight end, Hezzy Kent is going to come off the board. He's deciding between Florida, Miami, Texas, and Florida State. So this is a big weekend for Florida. They could see some multiple additions to the class. So should be a fun one.
Of those three, Florida, where do they stand with those three guys?
They're in good positions for all of them, right? I don't want to say they go 3 for 3, but, I think 2 for 3 is a safe bet as of right now. So I think, Florida has a good chance of, getting the majority, I should say. So
for people that haven't been following Tyler on social media, he's been actually crushing it, absolutely crushing it with his coverage of recruiting. Tyler, tell the Gator fans here in Northeast Florida about Swamp 247, about the coverage you have on the website when it comes to Florida Gator recruiting.
Yeah, so I'm actually fairly new to the site. I just graduated college in mid-May, and 5 days later, I started with Swamp 24/7, and, I cover Florida recruiting over there. I wasn't initially at Florida, so I had to kind of learn that landscape pretty quickly, and, of course, we were going into the busiest time of the recruiting calendar, so I kind of had to do it quick, and, it's been so fun ever since. Guys like Graham Hall and Zach Goodall, my coworkers, they're great to work with, and everybody at 24/7 Sports are great to work with. And, we have such a great network over here where we're able to put out the best coverage possible each and every day. So, I'm extremely lucky to be in the position I'm in and to be able to to cover such a great recruiting base that Florida brings in every year.
Well, you've done a terrific job. I told Zach that when I had him on last week. Absolutely terrific. Again, Tyler Harden, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247, covering Florida Gator recruiting. Tyler, appreciate the time. Thank you, man. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
He's nationally syndicated sports writer Matt Hayes.
And you might be.
And he's Jags beat writer Hayes Carline.
At least he got his name right.
Get more Hayes.
I gotta get me one of those.
Afternoons on 1010XL.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
They were right. It could have waited. I can't believe it happened to me. Reaching to check my phone. Now my family has to hear that I'm never coming home again.
Officer?
I'm so sorry. I have some very sad news to share with you.
Every day, 9 people on Florida roadways don't make it home. I was one of the people that didn't make it home.
Ride with Do Not Disturb. Every trip, every time. Let's get everyone home safely. A message from Florida Department of Transportation, Target Zero. For more information, visit targetzerofl.com.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
Hey, Hicken here. Tired of glasses or contacts? Discover customized vision solutions at Bowden Eye & Associates. Dr. Bowden's team offers cutting-edge options like Evo implantable Collamer lenses or refractive lens exchange and classic LASIK, designed to fit your life. Picture perfect vision for reading, driving, or just enjoying the day. It's easier than you think. Call now for your free screening. Bowden Eye & Associates, they're keeping the First Coast focused.
Get more Gators on the Gator Bites podcast presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists with new episodes every Friday. Subscribe and listen by searching for 1010XL's Gator Bites podcast wherever you find podcasts and at 1010XL.com.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
Are you living with diabetic neuropathy? That pain and numbness in your hands or feet? What about chronic knee or shoulder pain? Maybe you've tried various treatments, but they've been ineffective. Now there's a solution. Dr. Ferdinand Formoso specializes in advanced pain management and offers breakthrough neuromodulation treatments for those conditions. His innovative treatments target the source of your pain, offering relief where medications may fall short. All procedures are performed outpatient with no hospitalization required. Just a chance for you to feel and live better. If you want to learn more, Dr. Formoso is hosting free informational classes where he'll explain the benefits of neuromodulation therapies and how they can help eliminate your pain. Spaces are limited, so call to reserve your spot now with offices on the South Side, West Side, and Jacksonville Beach. Relief is possible with Formoso spine and joint pain specialists.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Celebrate National Carpet Cleaning Month with Zero Res. Hicken here. Check this out. $45 per room of carpet clean. Take 20% off your air duct services. Book online at ZeroResJacksonville.com and take advantage of the savings.
Zero Res.
Need or want cash? Beaches Jewelry and Pawn has cash available. Ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. They need it all, selling or pawning. Get cash on the spot at Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Coming soon, Pine Royale, a fully illuminated synthetic par 3 course built for day or night play. Plus a driving range with TrackMan Tech for virtual courses and interactive games. Mini golf, restaurant, and bar all in one place. Whether you're a serious golfer or just here for good vibes and great food, Pine Royale brings fun nonstop. Smash a burger, a bucket of balls, and even a night round under the lights. Grab your clubs, your crew, and your short game. Pine Royale is coming soon off I-295. Learn more at pineroyale.cc.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the Cool Down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Well, it was an unfortunate end for former Florida Gator Ben Shelton earlier today at Wimbledon. He loses in the quarterfinals to Jannik Sinner, but a resurgence, if you will, of American male tennis. The fact that 2 quarterfinalists from the United States, Taylor Fritz is already in the semifinals. He will play on Friday. Ben Shelton making it to the quarterfinals. Also some terrific tennis players like Tommy Paul and Frances Tiafoe. Is there a resurgence of American tennis? Let's talk about that with a guy that knows all about playing at the highest level. He was a finalist at Wimbledon back in 1996. He's the First Coast's own Mal Washington, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Mal, how you doing?
Brian, I am doing very good. Thanks for having me on. It's been a long time.
It has, Mal. We appreciate the time. It's your time of year, a finalist 29 years ago at Wimbledon. And when I talk about a resurgence of American men's tennis, Mal, I really mean that. I mean, you talk about the young talent from Taylor Fritz, who will meet, Carlos Alcaraz in the semis on Friday. We saw Ben Shelton. Tiafoe's made deep runs. I really like Tommy Paul as an up-and-comer. Do you sense the tide is turning when it comes to American tennis?
Well, from an American perspective, we always feel like we should be winning Grand Slam titles. And where have the men, especially on the men's side, and ironic, in 2003, was the last male at the U.S. Open. He was the last male American to win a Grand Slam title. We've seen the women do it, take care of business over the last, let's say, 5, 10, 15 years. But where have the men been? But you're absolutely right, Ryan. Taylor Fritz, he is leading the pack of young Americans. And he was kind of that group you just mentioned. He was the first one to kind of break out a couple of years ago when he won the big event in Indian Wells. And what that does, it spurs on the Americans behind him, including Tiafoe and the Gator who you just mentioned, Ben Shelton. I played on tour with Brian Shelton, Ben's dad, many years ago. But when I was on tour, what pushed me and some Americans was seeing the Agassiz and the Sampras take charge at 19, 20, 21 years old. And what it says is, okay, I grew up with these guys. I need to be at that level. I played those guys in the juniors. They beat me. I beat them. Why am I not there? And so when you see a Taylor Fritz come up and step up his game, or you see a Frances Tiafoe who a year ago got to top 10, he's fallen back a little bit, but I think he's probably just inside the top 15 right now. That spurs those other guys like Ben Shelton. And so it's great to see Ben make a deep run. And I'll tell you the truth. I mean, I was the last kind of American guy to make the finals there at Wimbledon. Last African-American to make the final. Well, I was wondering, is this Ben's opportunity? Is he going to make that leap? Because not just men, but we just want to see those Americans succeed, and we just haven't seen a lot of that. But it was great to see him at, 22 years old, making a deep run into Wimbledon.
Mal Washington here with us on 1010XL. Mal, they talked about this earlier in the broadcast today. You have to go back to the year 2000 since the last time 2 American men were in the semifinals at Wimbledon. That was Agassi and Sampras 25 years ago. Obviously, Ben Shelton fell just a little short. We mentioned Taylor Fritz is playing on Friday. Mal, what happened in the last quarter century? Is it as simple as, well, Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, and Murray happened?
And then you can also throw Stan Wawrinka into that group right there. I mean, all of them are going to be in the Hall of Fame, and 3 of them, especially with Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer, are 3 of the greatest of all time. So when they're out there, they're going to take away the majors from not just Americans, but every other country as well. But Ryan, it is really, really difficult to win a major. It is really difficult to go deep into a major. Every country out there has players that are trying to do it, and only a handful of them make it throughout the course of the year. But you just have to keep plugging along. And I'll give some of that credit to certainly the players, give some of that credit to the USTA, because they've been pushing and working for 20 years trying to repeat that success of kind of my era with Sampras and Agassi and Chang and Courier especially. But it's just really difficult. Every country is trying to crack that code on how do we create Grand Slam champions. But I think in this group that we have right now, especially with You mentioned Tommy Paul. I love his game. He's cracking, about to crack that top 10 again. Taylor Fritz, Ben Shelton, they're knocking on the door. But here's their biggest challenge. They have two guys in Alcaraz and center who are likely going to be their biggest competitors for the next decade. And that is who you're going to have to supplant if you want to win a major.
And Mal, to that point, that's my concern as an American tennis fan. I mean, Andy Roddick was terrific, but every time he seemingly made a run, Roger Federer was waiting for him or somebody along those lines. I mean, Shelton's only 22. Fritz is a little older. But it seems they're always going to run into center or Alcaraz. Fritz plays him on Friday, and they're going to have to figure out how to beat those guys.
But you know what? I love that. You don't want no one wants to be given anything. There is nothing better than winning a major and you take out the number one seed in the number one player in the world. And, Fritz has that opportunity, okay? He has that opportunity going up against Alcaraz, number two player in the world, to take out one of the greats, and that's what you need to do if you're going to win a Grand Slam title. So I don't feel bad for these guys. These guys are living the dream right now. They're doing what they love to do. They're at the top of the game of tennis. They're making a ton of money doing it. They're traveling the world, and now you're in the semifinals. If you're Taylor Fritz, semifinals of the greatest tennis tournament in the world, the oldest tennis tournament in the world, going up against Alcaraz to get into my first Wimbledon final. There is no better scenario than that you could want if you're Taylor Fritz.
A couple of more from Al Washington, a former Wimbledon finalist back in 1996. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mal, Novak Djokovic, I believe I heard, is going into his 52nd Grand Slam semifinal, which is just mind-boggling. I mean, mind-boggling. And look, I want to talk about the changing of the guard in a moment. Obviously, Federer, Nadal, Murray, they have all retired. Novak's the last one standing. But at 38 years old, for him to still be doing what he's doing, Mal, it's unbelievable, right?
It defies logic, and it kind of reminds me of LeBron James. LeBron James have had every accolade in his entire career, 8 finals, NBA finals consecutively. And to think that Djokovic, who's won 24 majors, 52 semifinals and majors, literally there are players, including myself, I would have been really, really happy with one major. I made one major final, and he's in his 52nd. Does that mean he's 52 times better than me? I'm not sure, but it might mean that. But this is what the greats are made of. He'll go into the Hall of Fame, a first ballot Hall of Famer, and in the Hall of Fame are all of the greats. And then there's a handful of players that, of those greats, are at a whole nother level. And Djokovic is leading that pack. Nadal will be there. Federer will be there. And it's just hard to believe that he's still going at the age that he's going. And really beating, he's not going to beat himself, and that's the challenge for anyone who's playing against Djokovic. He is so good, and he can handle the pace. He can give pace. He's in great shape. He moves really, really well. He's not going to beat himself. He's experienced enough. But if he goes up against Sinner, as he will in the semifinal, or against Alcaraz, those are players who they know they can beat Djokovic. No one else on the tour right now really feels real confident about beating Djokovic except those two.
Mal, I'm going to use the comparison to NASCAR because it's a one-person sport, and obviously there's coaches and pit crews. But when you think of tennis and NASCAR, it's obviously not a team sport, right? It's the one single person. NASCAR, there was a 3-4 year stretch there where Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart and all the main guys called it a career. And I think it hurt the sport a little bit. I don't think it's near as popular here now as maybe it was, 15 or so years ago. And you look at tennis, right? In a very short amount of time, Andy Murray, Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, at some point, Father Time will also catch up with Djokovic. Is there a concern for the men's tennis game that the 4 legends, when they call it a career, 3 of which already have, that tennis will take a kind of a downgrade in public opinion for a while?
Well, you get so used to seeing the big names. When they retire, you're wondering who is going to be that next group. From an American perspective on the men's side, it was Connors and McEnroe, who's going to be that next group? Well, guess what? Agassi and Sampras and Courier raised the bar. Okay. And from an American perspective, we're looking for that next crew who's going to raise the bar. And that was Andy Roddick. He did it to a degree, but he ran into a guy like Roger Federer a bunch of times. But now Tiafoe and Ben Shelton and Fritz, they're the ones to raise that bar. But sports are driven by the big names. And when the big names retire, yes, there is going to be some fans who fall away. Oh, my favorite player retired. But there's always going to be that next crop of players who become the greats, who do step up. And we're already seeing that with Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, without question. Those two are leading the game in men's tennis right now.
Mal, as we wrap up, is Alcaraz the next Nadal?
I don't know. I'm going to say no, only because it's hard to even think and believe that someone else will ever make 20 majors or 22 majors. No one is ever going to win 14 Grand Roland Garros like Nadal did. But if there is anyone, and it comes down to two things. Carlos could be that guy. And it comes down to, can he stay healthy for the next 12 to 15 years? And then number two is, as he continues to have success and win majors, can he keep that drive and motivation and desire going? You know what? There's some players out there, we see it in golf, we see it in basketball, they'll have 2, 3, 4 good years. They've made a ton of money, and you know what? That drive just isn't there. Yeah, we didn't see that with Tiger. Tiger Woods kept that drive. LeBron has kept that motivation. For Carlos and Jannik, can they keep that motivation and stay healthy for an extended period of time over the next 10 to 12 years, 12 to 15 years? If so, they may get there, but it's hard to imagine anyone will get to 20, 22 majors like those guys.
Final moments with Mal Washington. Of course, Alcaraz plays the American Taylor Fritz on Friday. Novak Djokovic, Jannik Sinner on Friday. The winners meet Sunday for the championship. Mal, take us back to 1996. Center court, you in the finals. Obviously, a moment of a lifetime and the highlight of your career. What do you remember from that run you made at Wimbledon?
It's what you dream about, Ryan. When you're a kid, you're dreaming about being in the finals of Grand Slam titles. And I think during that tournament, that couple of weeks back in 96, I was one of 2 men standing in the world. And that's a pretty darn good feeling. And it's also one of the worst feelings because you lose in that match and you don't know if you'll ever get there again. And in my career, I never got there again. And the guy I lost to, Richard Krajicek, he never got there again. So that's how rare and difficult it is to win a major or be in the finals of a major. But the way this tournament is shaping up, it's going to be a lot of fun coming to semifinals.
Mal, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville what Mal Washington is up to these days.
I've been in the business of real estate for a long, long time, for a couple of decades now. I spend a lot of time with my youth foundation. Ryan, believe it or not, we are in our 29th year of programming here in Jacksonville with my youth foundation. And this week, this Friday, we're finishing up our 6-week summer camp. And we'll have a couple of weeks off. Our staff will have a nice break from all of the kids, and then come August we start gearing up for the school year. But that is my passion, trying to help out young people right here in Jacksonville. We do it through tennis, life skills, and education. Just trying to keep a group of kids on board and on track. And we've been doing it for 29 years.
29 years. That is absolutely awesome. Mal Washington with us here on 1010XL. Mal, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. Hopefully the semis and the finals at Wimbledon will live up to the hype, and we'll talk again soon, pal.
It'll live up to the hype, no doubt. Ryan, I appreciate you. Good talking.
And thank you to Mal Washington. Really enjoyed that conversation with Mal. Again, a finalist back at Wimbledon in 1996. Imagine that moment for him, stepping onto center court, Wimbledon on Championship Sunday. That is absolutely amazing. It's also amazing that it's been 29 years. I remember watching that when I was growing up. And look, I thought it was an interesting perspective Mal had on American men's tennis. It has not been good. Look, Djokovic and Nadal and Federer and Andy Murray have controlled things for a long time, but it does look like the American men's side is making a comeback, if you will. Taylor Fritz, semifinal on Friday against Carlos Alcaraz. We'll see what happens. Ben Shelton did come up short today, but he was also a quarterfinalist at Wimbledon. The former Florida Gator, only 22 years of age. Guys like Tommy Paul, Francis Tiafoe as well. For the first time in a while, the American men have more than one or two guys that you're not surprised when they're in the round of 16 of a major or even the quarterfinal of a major. So I really appreciate Mal Washington's perspective on that tonight. We spent some time on that. Also spent some time on the Florida Gator recruiting trail, as obviously the Gators being pretty hot with Billy Napier on the recruiting trail. A couple of big decisions coming up in the next couple of days. They have 3 or 4 guys they're keeping their eye on, and we certainly talked about that. My buddy John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, as we're 2 weeks away, officially 2 weeks from today, until Jaguar training camp. Always enjoy talking Jaguar football and previewing training camp with John Shipley. And then back in hour number 1, we hit the Houston Texans in our AFC South preview. John McClain, who's one of the best when it comes to covering the NFL, has done it for a long time in the Houston area. We certainly appreciate John taking time out for us this evening to talk about the offseason that the Houston Texans did have. Well, that will just about do it, man. It has been a very, very busy Wednesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Mal Washington, that was a thrill for me. Hope you enjoyed that conversation. Thank you to Tyler Harden of Swamp 247, which is part of the 247.com network. Always talking Gator recruiting with Tyler. I enjoyed doing that. Again, John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, and John McClain, longtime sports reporter in the Houston area. We appreciate John taking time out for us this evening. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Thursday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Wednesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Jaguars and Gators, pro, college, and high school sports.
Wow.
Get the most play-by-play on 1010XL, Jacksonville's play-by-play sports radio.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor, outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available.